GSMC Soccer Podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. We have a great show for you today. We will be covering the Kylian Mbappe officially announcing that he'll leave PSG at the end of the season. Arsenal Manchester United game. We'll preview that upcoming matchup. We'll discuss what's left at stake in the remaining top leagues around the world, battling for potential title races or European positions. We'll discuss Real Madrid. They're having a little bit of a dilemma based on who should start in goal. We'll get to that. And then make sure you stick around for later in the show where I'll be giving you my thoughts on the Brazil and Mexico squads for this Copa America. Before we start off, I'd like to ask that you like and follow the show. We get a number of questions from viewers that come in during the show. So to ensure that your questions get read on the air, please use the tips and donations link at gsmcpodcast.net with your questions. Just put your questions at the top of the list so that it can see, and it really, really helps the show. So again, the link is gsmcpodcast.net. Going back to the main overlay, we have to discuss Kylian Mbappe. He officially announces he'll leave PSG at the end of the season. Obviously, there was a report that came out a month or 2 months ago saying he's leaving, but we didn't hear physically from him. So this is and there was a little bit of doubts sprinkling through that time, talking about Real Madrid, whether or not they're, kind of give him the same offer, this or that, or what if he wins the Champions League with PSG? Well, it's official, nail in the coffin. He came out, face to video, saying he is done. He's going to be leaving PSG at the end of the season. This upcoming match this Sunday is his last game at the Parc des Princes. And we were discussing earlier, Thierry Henry saying he was the best player in PSG history. For me, I think that's a little bit of a stretch. Obviously, he's one of the better players. But I think that's a little bit of a stretch saying he's the best player in the history when you look at the likes of Neymar, Zlatan, Cavani. They've had some, very good players at the club. And they had guys like Cavani and Zlatan who had a longevity at the club. They couldn't get it done in Europe, but they had longevity and they were very, very dominant players in the club. And they're talismans of the club. So, it really leaves it down to, for most people, when is he signing that Real Madrid contract? When is he signing that Real Madrid contract is going to be the discussion. When he's signing that Real Madrid contract is going to be the big discussion because of his because that's just what the perceived move is at this point. He grew up a Real Madrid fan. The rumors have been there for a long time. If he wasn't at PSG right now, he would have been a Real Madrid player. He'd been trying to get there all this long. It was between those two clubs last year, and he last minute decided he wants to stay at PSG. Whether or not he was using Real Madrid as some sort of leverage for him to get some of the players he wanted out at PSG, we don't know. We're not going to speculate. But this is going to leave Real Madrid at an interesting point next season, having Mbappe, Rodrigo, Vinicius, can all those three work together? And does the addition of Mbappe really fill the hole of the number 9 that Real Madrid is trying to fill? Because Mbappe is well documented, that's not his favorite position. He wants to play coming off that left-hand side, cutting into his right foot. That's his main position. That's what he loves playing. And he doesn't really want to be a number 9. And when you look at Rodrigo, Vinicius, you got the two best wingers, one of the two best wingers in the world on both sides. The best, one of the best for both of them. They were both one of the best. You could argue Vinicius is the best. Rodrigo, very clinical winger, goal-scoring winger, pace, ability on the ball. How does Mbappe fit into that? Vinicius and Rodrigo, it's kind of been makeshift this year. Sometimes both of them playing on the same side. Sometimes both of them just interchanging. How does Mbappe come? Could you just play all three and just allow each of them to all interchange, all play whatever, Because they can all, the beautiful thing about Rodrigo, Mbappe, Vinicius is they can all play on either. That's how talented they are. Either one of them can play on the right-hand side. Either one of them can play on the left-hand side. Either one of them can be the number 9. They all have that kind of ability, that kind of goal scoring ability, that kind of pace. It's a pacey front three. Or is it looking like one of those three long term are going to have to maybe leave the club to get the desired amount of playing time that they want? It's not going to be Mbappe. And more likely than not, it's probably not going to be Vinicius. The odd man out is more likely than not going to be Rodrigo. So I'm interested to see what direction Real Madrid are going to go into. As far as Mbappe announcing that this is going to be a final home game, he did that in a video. He joined PSG in 2017 from Monaco in a deal worth $180 million euros. And in 2021, PSG turned down a bid of 180 million euros from Madrid for Mbappe. He renewed his contract with PSG, but didn't end up taking the option for an extra year earlier. And then now he told PSG that he's leaving, and he confirmed it to all of us. So for me, it's not surprising at all. This move that's coming, he's not surprising. He's always been flirting at a move, saying this or that or this or that or this or that. He's always always flirting. Sometimes I believe he's using teams as leverage. Whether or not that's the truth or not, that we cannot confirm that. So, sorry, give me 1 second. I'm trying to pull out his stats at PSG this season. Or just in general. He is a brilliant player. The pace that he has. But no, can I see any other team having some sort of shot at him? Look, a few weeks ago I was doing this assignment for this other internship I had, and they wanted me to write an article regarding Mbappe's top 3 potential destinations. I had Real Madrid 1, and from then on out, I was just like, I don't know, I was just like, it's Real Madrid or he's staying at PSG. I think I put second Liverpool, third Chelsea. Look, I think Liverpool, if they were able to retain Klopp for next season, if he was staying, I think that would have been honestly a brilliant move for him. He could go into a Liverpool team that plays a, gegenpress football. It's beautiful for how he plays, the pace that he has, the ability. He could turn the way Klopp took Salah at his pace. Imagine what he'll be able to do with a guy like Mbappe. I think he'd make him. He's already a brilliant player right now, but I think he'll, take him to the next level, and really elevate him to someone that I think is one of the all-timers in the Premier League, like a Ronaldo-like impact. That's what I think would happen. But we're just talking right now. We're just talking purely hypotheticals. Jurgen Klopp is leaving. He's going to take a break. And then the third team I had actually was Chelsea. Now, Chelsea is in an interesting situation with the fact that they have a lot of young players. They're all coming up, and they just need a goal scorer. And Mbappe provides that. He plays with pace. The same way he's a good fit in Jurgen Klopp's system, I think he's also a brilliant fit in Pochettino's system. Pochettino has already been his manager, which didn't end up going amazingly, but maybe they built some sort of relationship. I don't know. I don't know if they built a relationship. It doesn't seem like anything out of the ordinary, but I just think that would have been a decent move for him. He would have to force, not play European or not play Champions League football for a year. So is that something he's willing to make? No, he's not. He's not willing to make that kind of decision. He doesn't want to take a break. But I think going to the Premier League overall would have got him to enhance his name, and his going to Madrid also does that. So maybe I'm just chatting, but obviously he's going to Madrid. Let's just be for real. There's no way August comes and he's not, wearing a Real Madrid jersey, preparing for their preseason. I'm out here sitting here trying to, give y'all hypotheticals, because I'm trying to build some sort of buzz maybe to this decision. But There's no buzz at all. He's gonna be a Real Madrid player when it comes to August. And Real Madrid, I mean, just another Galactico, another brilliant signing for them, another Ronaldo, Benzema, Bale, one of those kind of big name signings. And they haven't really had that big signing they haven't had a Galactico in a pretty long time. Maybe I'm missing one like really badly right now. But if you look at the signings that they made, they've made some brilliant signings, like signing Camavinga, Chouameni, signing Alaba, signing Rudiger. They've made some brilliant signings just in general, but Galactico superstar signing that break the bank. I think the biggest signing that's gotten buzz in the last 34 years has been the Endrick signing, the 17-year-old. Apart from that, they haven't really made a Galactico signing in a very long time, and this is going back to their ways of going after the best player of the world, one of the best players in the world that come in and he'll make an immediate impact. Obviously, they made some big signings and in approaching people from Brazil like Endrick, Vinicius, Rodrigo, but this is a little bit different. This is getting someone right away that come in and make an impact right away. That's one of the best players in the world. So this is going to be another Galactico signing in a period where we haven't seen much type of those kind of Galactico caliber players coming in. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to be previewing the Arsenal versus Manchester United match.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits, some losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip, you choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind.
Before the break, we discussed Kylian Mbappe officially announcing he'll leave at PSG. We're going to now discuss Arsenal, Manchester United. But before we discuss, I just wanted to remind y'all, we get a lot of tips and donations that come in during the show. So to ensure that your questions get read on the air that I asked, please use the tips and donations link at gsmcpodcast.net with your questions. It puts your questions at the top of the list so that I can see it, and it really helps grow the show. So please, the link is gsmcpodcast.net. Arsenal, Manchester United this Sunday, Old Trafford. I mean, football heritage. Football heritage. I love using that term. Arsenal, Manchester United this Sunday, 10:30. Arsenal, 69 according to Google, the drop menu, the win probability menu. Arsenal 69% favorites to win at Old Trafford. Really just shows the demise of Manchester United. When you're Manchester United playing at Old Trafford, it used to be a fortress. It used to be a team, a place where teams came in thinking, oh boy, we're really gonna have to, put a shift in to get a point, let alone come in and win. Now it's kind of become a training ground for not only the top 6 sides, but also some of the lesser sides in the league. It's really sad the way Old Trafford's the atmosphere is always going to be electric, but the way the fear that was brought in at a stadium, it used to have like an Anfield level kind of fear. You don't really get that nowadays. But let's just go strictly regarding this Manchester United Arsenal game. This is a Arsenal team that needs to win the rest of their games, and they need to hope Man City drop points somewhere. They're coming in with some sort of level of desperation, knowing not only do they need to win this game, but they don't control their own destiny, and they need a Man City team who never, choke in these positions to choke. But the funny thing is, I was talking to my friend and he was telling me, and I 100% agree with him, it would be the most Arsenal thing to do to watch City drop points to Fulham tomorrow and to compound that by dropping points against United on Sunday. That would be the most funniest thing. It would be kind of a repeat of Villa's thing where Liverpool dropped points and then they went on to drop points against Villa. That would be so funny that happened. And, I worry about Arsenal in this game. I think that the fact that they are heavy favorites kind of works against them. I think United are going to, they're going to sit in. They're going to, under Ten Hag, the style of football has been question mark. They're going to sit in. They're going to make a compact. They're going to try to play in between the lines in transition depending on who they start in this game. I know Rashford, he's just coming back. I don't think he'll get in. With Garnacho, Anthony, who didn't make the Brazil squad, we'll discuss that later. They're gonna try to play with their pace. Højlund, and I just think Arsenal, they're prone to bottling in key moments. When it comes to the game, when it comes to performance, when it comes to the teams, Arsenal is just much better than United, just overall. What we've seen from them this season, they're a much better, much more talented team, much better coached team, much more organized team, game in, game out. They know what they're going to try to do. With United, there's been question marks with their style of play, with their execution. They've had a lot of injuries. It's just been... So when it comes to the game itself, between the two teams, there's a clear favorite, there's a clear better team. But football is a funny game, and football can lead to surprise upsets. Football can lead to game-changing type of moments, and it takes a red card here or this there or this there. So I think... Well, first of all, I think Arsenal's experience is going to need to come through here. They can't get too big-headed about the fact that they're much better than them. I think some key guys in this game, even if they're not playing, is a guy like Jorginho, who I would slot in because of the experience he has. He's won a Champions League. He has that experience. He'll keep a level head at Anfield. And this is an Arsenal team that's still inexperienced, to say. None of them have won a legitimate trophy. I don't know which of them was in that FA Cup winning team. I'm looking at this team right now. Thomas Partey, he might have been in there. Been in there. I think Eddie Nketiah maybe. Yeah, but not much have Gabriel Jesus, he has experience in these sort of situations. But there's a lack of experience in this Arsenal team. So I think it's important for them, through the experience that they have with a guy like Jorginho, to maintain a level and composed head. Especially, let's say, United do score a goal early on. Arsenal are in a position that or points is not enough at Old Trafford. They need to go and they need to get 2 goals. So they need to keep a level head. They need to, whenever Leverkusen, I'm going to give you an example. Leverkusen, throughout the season, even late in the game situations where they've needed a goal to rescue a point or to win a game, it always seems like they're playing the exact same way that they're playing in those sort of moments that they would be playing in 20 minutes in of a 0-0 game. The style of play, what they do, they don't panic, nothing changes. I think that's going to be important for Arsenal if they go down a goal early, not to put your head down. I've always criticized this Arsenal team and Saka specifically. No, not Saka specifically, but this Arsenal team. Whenever the going gets tough, they disappear. And when I go with Saka, because Saka is the best player at Arsenal. Saka and Declan Rice, you could argue here and there. But let's just go back to Saka. Saka is a player for me. He's talented. He has ability. But when the going gets tough, he's not a guy that elevates the team out of the pack of a tough situation. It's kind of a, especially when we saw last year down the stretch or the year before when they're battling for top 4, or whenever they've just been struggling in years past. whenever Arsenal's been struggling as a whole, Bukayo Saka is not there to elevate them. He's kind of going down with them, and he's also suffering as well in his performances. That's the thing. That's the thing that really concerns me in this game. I said yesterday, or later in the show, I said there's a good chance Arsenal might enter the last game of the season and already be out of it. I think there's a very good chance of that happening, and for that to happen, more likely than not, they're gonna have to drop points on Sunday, which I could see it happen. As far as the motivation on Manchester United's side, you know, a lot of their season depends on what happens in the FA Cup against Manchester City in the final. Let's just be clear on that. They need some sort of salvation for this horrible season. The only thing that provided is potentially winning a FA Cup. Even, right now they're in the battle. They're right there with Chelsea trying to battle for Europa League, Conference League position or whatever. But, which they can get no matter what if they win the FA Cup, by the way. They automatically qualify for the Europa League if they reach the FA Cup. But if they win the FA Cup, getting to 6th place is essential for them. So they are battling for that. But the motivation is not really that. Getting into Europa League is far from United's concerns. So the motivation is there. Just the fact that they're playing against Arsenal, and it's a tricky situation because you're playing against Arsenal and you're trying to end their season, but you're essentially handing a Premier League title to City, which is really their bigger rivals, their Manchester rivals. Obviously, the players on the pitch, they're not really going to be thinking that, because I don't think the rivalry, I don't know if that's a word, but the rivalry between City and United is sort of the same of a Tottenham Arsenal. Like here, in my opinion, I'm telling you right now, in my opinion, let's say it came down to a position, hypothetical situation, Tottenham plays City in the last game of the season, and City need to beat Tottenham for Arsenal to win the title, or Tottenham need to beat City for Arsenal to win the title. I really wholeheartedly think Tottenham will drop or at least their fans. Obviously, really the players play for different. They play for, have sort of different motivations. They're trying to still play. You don't fake soccer. But I really think the fans will 100% want Tottenham to throw that game away. I don't know if it's that kind of tense rivalry between City and United. Enough to where United some are in the back of the head thinking, do we really want to hand this title to City? Is that what we want right now? I don't think it's really that deep between the two. But yeah, the overall motivation of United is is different than than Arsenal, because Arsenal are essentially here playing for their entire season. Arsenal did take on United earlier this year. It was a crazy game. Garnacho almost won it at the end for United, and then Declan Rice ends up scoring a last-minute deflected goal after Garnacho scored a goal, but it was ruled offside by the tiniest of margins. By the way, it was a brilliant game. And then Declan Rice off a corner kick, I believe it got deflected, beats what's his name, Onana, nestles into the back of the net. Then Gabriel Jesus in transition, one of those last counter-attack goals whenever you're up, scores, makes it 3-1. So at Emirates, and it was at the Emirates, and United played them well. This United team is totally different from now, totally different perspective now than they were at that point of view. But just to provide the information on what happened the last time Arsenal played Manchester United. We're gonna take a short break here shortly, and then when we come back, we're gonna be discussing what's left remaining at the top leagues, what people are battling for in the top European leagues around the world. So stay tuned after this short break.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
Oh, wrong overlay. There you go. Sorry about that. We got to discuss the top European leagues around the world. They're all coming down to the wire. Most of them, besides the Premier League, the title race is over in a lot of them besides the Premier League. But there's some key European spots that are left battling around the world. So I'm here to discuss some of those things. So first of all, we have to start off with the Premier League. Obviously, the title race in the Premier League is coming down to the wire. Arsenal hold a 1-point lead over Manchester City, but Manchester City have a game in hand, which they'll play on Tuesday against Tottenham. Man City play Fulham on Saturday. Arsenal play United on Sunday. Liverpool, technically, they're still alive, but they're out of it. They're out of it. It was 78 points. There's too much of a wide gap to cover in that time. Aston Villa, they are basically clinched 4th place at this point. Not mathematically clinched, but when you look at it, 67 points. Their next closest one is Tottenham with 60 points, but Tottenham do have a game in hand. So let's say they win it, it's still a 4-point gap to cover in 2 games. But this is a Tottenham team that's struggling. They're in horrible form. So when you look at the last couple games, actually, they've lost to teams like Chelsea, Arsenal. They lost to Chelsea, Arsenal, Liverpool, Newcastle. That's a 4-game losing streak. Obviously, that's a gauntlet to play when you play Newcastle, Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, even though Chelsea are not the strongest they've been. But those are 4 teams in the top 8 right now. They get to play Burnley tomorrow, and maybe that helps them close that gap. But Villa, they've also been struggling. They lost to Olympiacos. They just got eliminated. They lost to Brighton over the weekend. But I still think they'll do enough, to get that top 4. Europa League, as it stands right now within England, only 5th place gets a Europa League finish. And unless Tottenham finish 4th, Aston Villa can finish no longer than 5th. Spurs they're the strongest position to finish that 5th place and get the Europa League spot with the 4-point lead they have over Newcastle. But Newcastle do have a chance to host Brighton, and they're in good form, so maybe they can make up the ground. We'll see. Chelsea and United have miniature chances of finishing 5th, but they're really battling for that 6th place spot and battling out for Conference League, which maybe those 2 clubs might desire. Maybe that's their chance to, complete football next season. They're teams that actually, Chelsea, yes. I don't know if United have won the Europa League. I don't think United have won the Europa League. Chelsea have a chance to complete because they won the Europa League. They've won actually. Yeah, they won it. I think they've won multiple Europa Leagues, actually. I believe the year after they won the Champions League, I think they won that Europa League. But they definitely won the Europa League against Arsenal a few years ago. So Chelsea, maybe they look at it as an opportunity. Hey, we can complete football now. I don't know. We're going to move on to La Liga. La Liga, 4 rounds to go. Real Madrid. Title. Clinched. Champions. And then Real Madrid, Girona, Barcelona, they have secured their place for Champions League next season. Atletico Madrid, they hold a 6-point lead over Athletic Club. They can't seal it this week, but they're in the inside track with 4 games to go. It's a 6-point lead. More than comfortably, I think they're completed. Athletic Club, they won Copa del Rey, so they're gonna finish within they're gonna finish within the top 6. So the cup moves, the chance for the cup moves to another team, and 5th and 6th place will enter the Europa League. So either Atletico Madrid or Athletic Club will take one of those places. Probably going to be Atletico Madrid. With Athletic Club, because I don't think Atletico Madrid dropping out. Real Sociedad is sitting there in 6th, but they're being chased by Real Betis, who are only 2 points behind them. Valencia is also in the race, but they're 7 points behind Sociedad. Not really likely. Bundesliga. Bayer Leverkusen are still unbeaten all season. They've already secured their first championship in their history. 84 points in 32 games. Remarkable. 49 game on winning streak. They have a chance to go for trouble. Unbelievable season. Phenomenal for Leverkusen. Champions League. There's 5 spots in the Champions League for Germany. I'm really confused how this coefficient thing works. Which leagues get the extra spot? I have no idea. But Champions League, Bundesliga is one of the 2 leagues that get the 5th spot. It's through European performance spot. I don't know what that means. Maybe the fact they had Dortmund and Bayern reach the semis. The top 5 positions is going to be joining Leverkusen. It's going to be Bayern, Stuttgart get in, Leipzig get in, and Dortmund, who's 3 points behind the Leipzig, they're also going to be getting in. Dortmund, the year that they reached the final, it would be funny. The year that they reached the final, going back years past, I know the season's not over yet, so they can still climb into that top 4. But imagine if they finish 5th. Imagine they reached the Champions League final and finished 5th. That reminds me of a Chelsea team that did that. I don't even think they finished 5th. They finished like 6th or 7th. This was a poor season, Premier League campaign-wise, but they ended up winning the Champions League. So interesting for Borussia Dortmund. But they're even in 5th place. They're going to go in. And actually, the tricky thing is, since they're in the final, if they do win it and they stay in the 5th place, which they will, then 6th place in the Bundesliga will also take a trip to the Champions League, and that'll be Eintracht Frankfurt, who are 45 points, who are comfortably in 5th place, but they have a 4-point cushion with 2 games to go from anyone behind them too. So they're kind of, they want to make sure they stay in that 6th place spot just in case the extra Champions League spot opens up for them. And then with the Europa League, there's a lot of complicated issues with the 6 in the league and the winners of the DFB Pokal. It really, there's a lot of things going in there. So let's just leave that alone just for now, because there's a lot going on. Serie A, 3 rounds to go. Internazionale, they wrapped up the Scudetto. They won it a few weeks ago, I believe. They have 92 points in 36 games. Absolutely brilliant season from them. They're going to be a huge threat in next year's Champions League, in my opinion. Talented team. Just like Bundesliga, Italy has secured an extra place for the Champions League next year. They have 5. So Inter will be in. AC Milan is in. Juventus is nice having them back. They're going to be in. Bologna, that's the surprise one. Bologna is also in. And the third, this is obviously not a clinch, but the 3rd and 4th place teams regarding Juventus and Bologna, they have a 6-point gap to 6, who is Atlanta. But Atlanta has a chance to get in also with the Europa League final. If they win the Europa League final against Leverkusen, that could get them in, which makes it a little bit tricky. Atlanta and Fiorentina, hold on. Let me see what the standings say. Atlanta and Fiorentina might go into an extra game of the final position as results earn if they both equal with points and obviously if Atlanta, they don't win the Europa League, if they equal points, goal score, all that stuff. So that'll be an interesting situation. With the Europa League, Atlanta face Juventus in the final of the Coppa Italia, which means one of those teams that finished 6th and 7th will automatically qualify for the UEFA Europa League, and that's obviously subjected to whether or not Atalanta can win the Europa League. Roma, Atalanta, and Lazio are the main contenders, but there's still hopes for 8th place for Napoli, who was the other Europa League spot, and maybe Fiorentina, that has a game in hand, was 50 points. Man, Napoli, the drop-off. They're on the outside looking in for Europa League after one of the best club seasons we've seen last year. The drop-off has been massive, but it's a shame. Losing their manager has a lot to do with it, but no, it's very interesting. League 1, we'll go real quick. PSG, 70 points with 31 games. They've already secured the title. France gets 3 places and automatically places in the Champions League, with the 4th team entering a qualifying round. PSG have already picked the 1st place. And then there's a battle going on for the 2 other guaranteed spots into the group stages. AS Monaco has 61 points in 32 games. They've claimed one of the, and we'll make sure it's with just a point for their final 2 matches. They're away at Montpellier on Sunday. Brest, Lille, and Nice, they're battling out for that 3rd spot through Nice game in hand, who's at home to PSG. In the Europa League, Nice isn't, for the Europa League positioning, Nice is sitting there in 5th. A Europa League spot is, within their reach comfortably, especially, this is if they're not able to climb the gap and take top 4. And then right behind them is Lens with 49 points in 32 games. There's a bit of a margin there, but they have played 1 game more, so that. And then PSG also take Lyon on in the final of the Coupe de France on May 25th, and if PSG were able to win it, that sends the 6th place teams automatically into Europa League as well. So that'd be very interesting to see. We're gonna take a short break shortly, and when I come back, we're gonna be talking about the situation with Real Madrid goalkeeper situation for the Champions League final. So stay tuned.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
Before the break, we discussed what was left remaining in the top leagues around the world. Now we start talking about the situation amongst Real Madrid, their goalkeeping situation. There's rumors going around. I don't like discussing rumors. I like discussing facts, but I will discuss this topic because this is the Champions League final. Real Madrid take on Borussia Dortmund, and there's rumors going around trying to decipher who Ancelotti is going to start in goal, whether or not he's going to start Lunin, who ever since replacing Kepa has had a brilliant season as the backup goalkeeper, obviously, for Real Madrid, or if he should bring back a Courtois, who just started returning training soon and all that. Look, for me, the Courtois situation is a little interesting due to the fact that it's official. Domenico Tedesco announced for Belgium Courtois is going to be out for the Euros. He's not going to be in the squad. He doubled down in April. But Courtois is returning training, prepping for a potential chance to play in the Champions League final. For me, that's very something that's just keep going through my head of what's going on there. Maybe what happened between Courtois and Lukaku with the captain situation, all that. Maybe that has something to do with it, the falling out they had with the coach. I don't know, but that's something that I was very interested on. But just simply going back to this, who should he start in the final? It's reported that Ancelotti is going to give Courtois another chance to, show what he has in training before he decides who he starts. Maybe I guess that's fair to say, because you shouldn't just rule out Courtois. He is one of the top goalkeepers, and we gotta remember, in the last Champions League final, he was the man of the match. He was the reason why Real Madrid won. When Liverpool were peltering the goal, it was Courtois. And Lunin, he's been really good, as a backup goalkeeper. Obviously, the expectations is lower, but he's been good. At first it was a little, shaky when we saw he didn't even take the goal kicks. He is a little not the best playing out at the back, but he's a sorry about that. He is a good goalkeeper. Ancelotti did say on Friday he's gonna plan to give Courtois more playing time in La Liga, to allow him to, for us to be able to see more, or not for us, for him to be able to see his form. And he said he has a month to think about the decision, which I think is fair, to go in that sort of direction. And it's a risky direction to go in, no matter what, whether or not you do go with Courtois or Lunin, because it opens up for criticism. Either, I think definitely going with Lunin is the safer direction, obviously. But you still open yourself criticism no matter which way you go, whether or not you go for Lunin or Courtois. You do open up yourself for criticism. If you go in with Courtois and Courtois is rusty, you had a guy that's came in that's been brilliant all season, why make this sort of decision? Okay, but then if you go to take a guy like then if you were to decide to start Lunin, and let's say you lose the game, Lunin makes a mistake, he hasn't really made much this season, then you also, why don't you start Courtois? You have this guy, he proved it for you in the Champions League, the way he performed in the Champions League final. This is a guy that has this sort of big game presence to himself, and you're leaving him on the bench, and he's done good in the league too. In the few games you tried him out, it's a no-win situation for Ancelotti. It's a big decision to make. And I'm hearing opinions, and some people are, kind of scoffing at this question, saying, "What? Are you kidding me? There's no way he doesn't play Lunin. What kind of question is this?" But I think it's a lot closer than it seems, and Ancelotti is definitely addressing it. He said Courtois is going to play this Saturday when Madrid play Granada. He said he'll be resting other starters, though, like Jude Bellingham. Granada is a team in 19th place, and they're really they're not going to be able, more likely not going to be able to avoid relegation. So I think that's a good game to ease Lunin in. So yeah, by the way, Courtois was his birthday. It's his birthday, May 11th. So happy birthday to him. But yeah, no, for me it's very interesting. The decision he has to make, and really based on the form that you get within the game, because training and in-game is different. I do want to look ahead a little bit to this Champions League final. There is a clear-cut favorite between the two. Real Madrid, Borussia Dortmund, history, culture, all that say Real Madrid. The talent says Real Madrid. Borussia Dortmund, though, they can go into this with the mentality we've been underdogs all season in the Champions League. Every team that we went up against, we've been the underdog. Everybody doesn't believe in us. They came out with that. I saw this hype video, this tournament hype video. It was actually very beautiful to see. So they're not gonna go in and be scared of the fact that they're underdogs. They embrace that. They play through that. They love it. They play with a joy. They play with a togetherness, a bond. They also play good football, and they have some very good defenders. They defend with their lives, which is very important. They got experience at the back with Matt Hummels, who won a Champions League, Emre Can, who's won a Champions League. He lost with Bayern. He was a youth guy, but he was still in the squad. Then he lost the one to Real Madrid, but reached the final. I think his experience is going to be key. His ability to change the pace of the game, control the tempo of the game, solidify that back line. I think it's going to be very important for him to fill in holes between the fullbacks and the center backs to close up space for guys like Vinicius and Rodrigo, which I think the fullbacks today from Dortmund, the Ryersons, the Guerreros, that's very essential if he's kind of not the Guerrero. Did I say Guerrero? I'm living in 2019. I'm living in 2019 saying Guerrero. Speaking of which, Guerrero, he's been injured. But the Ryersons and the Ian Matsons, it's going to be very important for them to be defensively stable, to pick and choose their moments, when to go up into attack, knowing that if they go into attack in the wrong moments and a quick ball play gets played in, you got Vinicius and Rodrigo going up against your center backs, going up against a Hummels and a Sule, Hummels, who's a brilliant defender, but a Sule that might lack pace, a Schlotterbeck. You don't want to put your center backs in that sort of position, so they gotta be weary of when they want to attack, when they want to sit back, and be mindful of them. And in general, they're not the best defender fullbacks. They're not good at defending. Let's just be real. Ryerson, Ian Matson, they're not the best defenders. If Ian Matson was a very good defender, he would still be at Chelsea right now. So I think that that would be concerning if you're coming from a Dortmund perspective. But overall, I'm trying to make this game seem closer than what it is, bro. I was telling my friends, don't even watch the Champions League finals. It's gonna be a joke. I really think it's one-sided. It's extremely one-sided. Not just based on the players, but when you look at from that point of view, you think maybe this is a little bit more even. Or just look at it, the fact that the culture and tradition, the clutchness of Real Madrid, it's just. How can you choose against them in a one-leg tie? If you're going to be able to get past them, it's like a Manchester City who have a better team in 2 legs. It gives you a better chance for you to just prove that you're just the better team and just to win just because of the sheer ability to trip. But in a one-leg tie, with their ability to make capitalize on moments, how can you choose against them? In a one game, how can you choose against Carlo Ancelotti in a Champions League final? How can you choose against Vinicius and Kroos and Modric and Alaba and Rudiger? In a one game, I just can't. But it's gonna be exciting to see. And who should Real Madrid start to go in the Champions League final? I would go with the safer option in Lunin. But if Courtois comes in La Liga and he just shows, he's back to exactly what he was, then I have no problem with Ancelotti going in that direction. It's really in his hands, and whatever he sees within the game, because training is not enough. Whatever he sees within the games remaining left in the season La Liga, that'll do a big help in helping him make that decision. We're going to take our last break shortly. When we come back, we're going to be talking about the Brazil and Mexico Copa America squads. They announced their squads, and we're going to give us a little bit of the outlook on that. Before the break, we discussed Real Madrid and who they should start in goal. Brazil. Now we're going to go to Copa America squads. Brazil, Mexico, they announced their squads for Copa America, upcoming Copa America this summer, the combined Copa America between North America, South America. It's going to be a brilliant tournament. But they both announced their squads, and both have some interesting things I noticed with them. Let's go with the Brazil squad first. So they got Alisson from Liverpool, Bento from Atletico Paranaense, Ederson from City. No real surprises there. Defenders brought in Beraldo from PSG, Militao from Real Madrid, Gabriel Magalhaes from Arsenal, Marquinhos from PSG, Danilo from Juventus, Quato from Girona, Arama from Atletico Brazilian club, and then Wendell from Porto. In midfield, Andres Pereira, yes, the former Manchester United midfielder Andres Pereira from Fulham, Bruno Guimaraes, Newcastle, Douglas Luiz, Aston Villa, João Gomez from Wolves, and Lucas Paquetá from West Ham. A completely Premier League midfield, if you noticed, and they also not including a Casemiro who missed out on the squad. And then the forwards, you got Endrick from Palmeiras, Evanilson from Porto, Martinelli from Arsenal, Rafinha from Barcelona, Rodrigo from Real Madrid, Savinho from Girona, Vinicius Jr. from Real Madrid. So, this is a team dominated by mostly Premier League and La Liga players. You got a few Brazilian league players in there, but it's a lot of Premier League players, which is very new look for Brazil squads. They have Premier League players. Brazil have a good history of Premier League, but you have looking at an entire midfield. You got also Martinelli in the attacking aspect. Your two main goalkeepers, and then you also have a center back. There's a lot of Brazilians in this team, a few Porto players too. But we got to talk about some of the guys that are missing. Casemiro, Anthony, Richarlison. Richarlison was the one that kind of shocks me because Richarlison was kind of like that answer for Brazil number 9 in the last World Cup. Kind of faded off at the end, but he still had a good tournament. I was surprised by that. Dorviel Jr. came out and said a recent injury picked up is what caused it to, that decision. Casemiro one we were discussing earlier this week, talking about whether or not it should be in the squad. I think he had a value bringing him just as an experienced guy. Dorviel Jr. seemed to disagree. He decided to go with Andres Pereira instead. That's the main guy that I would have brought Casemiro instead. But Andres Pereira, he's had a good season at Fulham. He's had a very, very good season. He gives you something a little bit different in there with his ability. He has a good season. So I understand that decision. He has had a better season than Casemiro. So reward the player that's had the better season. It would be unfair to Andres Pereira to let Casemiro go despite the season he's had compared to him. So I understand it. The thing Gabriel Jesus, he had that poor World Cup in 2018. Not scoring any goals. 2019 he was kind of our man at the Copa America, but other than that he's really been struggling to get back into this Brazil squad. He's been in and out. He got into the World Cup squad, but it was kind of a makeshift player. Only played the third game in which he suffered a bad injury that kept him out for a lot of the season for Arsenal. And then this season he's also started off a little bit injured. I think he's a talented player who just doesn't really score goals. He's more of a brilliant, more of a João Felix in my opinion. Good quality, can play a number 9 role, but he's really better playing right alongside a true 9. And I guess Dorviel Jr. didn't really see the value in him, which I'm surprised. He is a talented football player, and I think he's getting a little bit disrespected by Brazil because he has the ability. But he is inconsistent. So I'm surprised by that. I was also shocked by the Richarlison thing, but we got updated injury-wise. Anthony doesn't surprise me at all. He's been really, really bad. He was so bad at that last World Cup. It's not even a joke. Oh my goodness! In that game against Croatia, skill, no end product. He still hasn't solved this end product issue. I have no problem with him not being in the squad. Other than that, this is a team that has some experience, but not much experience defensively. The fullbacks is weak. I like the guy that they brought in from the Brazilian league. I haven't watched him play, but they say he's talented. So I am concerned. I am concerned a little bit for this team, but they had a good international friendlies, and this is a team on the rise. And I'm very interested to whether or not ND does have a role to play in this tournament. I'm very interested in, as we go on. But obviously, the guys in the squad that really is going to get this team going is Vinicius and Rodrigo, the two main guys. They are going to be what elevate. They got to bring that Champions League magic that they have. They kind of have to bring that to Brazil. Vinicius, he hasn't been the same player he's been for Real Madrid and Brazil. He needs to bring that to Brazil if Brazil want to go on and win this Copa America. Mexico also, came out with their squad today, and it's a squad that a lot of fans are happy about because of the fact that the players, the age of the players and all that, dropping some of these veteran guys out. But first of all, let me just read the squad for you. So goalkeepers, Luis Malagon from America, Julio Gonzalez from Pumas, Raul Rangel from Chivas. Defenders, Jorge Sanchez from Porto, Israel Reyes from Club America, Brian Garcia from Toluca, Cesar Montes from Almeria, Victor Guzman from Monterrey, Alexis Peña from Necaxa, Johan Vasquez from Genoa, Jorge Orozco from Chivas, Gerardo Ortega from Monterrey, and Brian Gonzalez from Pachuca. Midfielders, Edson Alvarez from West Ham, Luis Romo from Monterrey, Jordan Carrillo from Santos, Eric Sanchez from Pachua, Oribinel Pineda from Athens, Roberto Alvarado from Chivas, Luis Chavez from Dynamo Moscow, Andres Montaña from Mazatlan, Fernando Beltran from Chivas, Carlos Rodriguez from Cruz Azul. And then the forwards position, Marcelo Flores from Tigres, Cesar Huerta from Tigres, Julian Quinones from America, Guillermo Martinez from Pumas, Santiago Jimenez from Feyenoord, Alexis Vega from Toluca, Diego Lainez from Tigres, Uriel Antuna from Cruz Azul. You see here, no Chucky Lozano, no Raul Jimenez, who has not been the same since that head injury, and no Nemo Ochoa, who wants to play in this next World Cup. So those three guys dropped and going with a complete youth team, because this team in the Nations League team that lost to the U.S. was completely different. And they won with a bunch of young guys, and this is what Mexico wanted. They want them to behave like a proper federation and look into the future and look into these guys that can really be a threat to help Mexico do something at the World Cup. And I think a change was needed, because in Mexico last couple of years, they've been in the worst form that they've been, ever. The losing 3 straight finals to the U.S., not being unbeaten, U.S. being unbeaten against them, and the long streak that they are. I think there's a time, I know the Irving Lozano one is a little bit tricky because he is 28 and you might think he can help you out here, but he has been struggling of recent, and I guess they just want to go with the guys that they want to check out. This is not some sort of Gold Cup or anything. This is the Copa America. So, and this is a tournament that's very, very important for the Mexican national team, especially as they build to a semi-home World Cup coming up. So no, I'm surprised by this roster. I guess they just drew the line after the last Nations League final, saying, okay, the last Nations League final, they drew the line saying, enough is enough. We have to completely change everything for us if we're trying to actually be a legit sort of team for this upcoming World Cup. Some things need to change, and they're absolutely right, because what happened. And I feel like the squad can go in being young, no pressure on them, because they're all youngsters. They all represent Mexico at Copa America. The media is tough and all that, but they can go in and they can kind of play with no sort of fear, and I think it makes it dangerous. I think as a U.S. men's national team fan, this Mexico team should scare you more than the Mexico team that they played in the Nations League, because that just seemed like a team with low energy, no cohesion, no desire. It just seemed predictable. I think with this Mexico team provides an unpredictability, and I would really like to see how they do in this Copa America, because I think they can be a much more contender with this kind of roster, with a young team, with the energetic team, with the hungry team, than the teams that they were bringing in the Nations League and the last World Cup. It was just flat out not good enough. So building something for the future, I think, is a brilliant move if you are if you are in, Mexico National Team Federation. Well, thank you guys for tuning into the GSMC Soccer Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. Your support means a lot to us. So please remember to subscribe to the show and leave a positive review. It really does make a difference. We also invite you to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram for more content and updates. Thank you once again and have a wonderful, wonderful day.